welcome to the Fantasy Pavilion, your home for fantasy sports.
Yes, guys, welcome back to the Fantasy Pavilion, your home for fantasy sport. And we are here live, ready for game week 9. I'm joined by Rachel in the background there, and of course, our mate all the way from Australia, Johnny, the big Liverpool
How's
fan.
it going,
Johnny, how you
guys?
doing?
It good?
Yeah,
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 very
bro.
good, very good. Nice and early here, about 8 a.m. So feeling good, ready to talk some fantasy Premier League.
What time did you wake up this morning, Johnny? You look fresh as a daisy, right? Don't look like it's 8 a.m. across here.
Look at this. They need to hang this up. You guys got a somewhere in Trinidad and Tobago where you can frame this and hang it up, mate? Look at that. Just unbelievable.
Because I don't look like that at 8 a.m. I tell you. I'm so
Took a
half
lot of
asleep.
work. A lot of work behind the scenes.
So Johnny, game week 9, we just had international break. Rachel, we back into the fray now, back into the sway, back into the fun of FPL. Before we move forward, guys, I have a controversial poll question. I'm asking you guys, do we keep Haaland until game week 11? Do we drop him, sorry, until game week 11, or do we keep him? Now, obviously, Haaland is a funny um asset, because if you don't have him and he does well, he can dip really bad. Or you don't have him and the others shine through, you're good to go. So I know some people, I have some friends who dropped him already. This time last season, I would not have had him at all, but of course, you have to have him to try and stay with EO. So I don't know, Johnny, what you think? You're keeping Allen, obviously.
I was shocked when you brought this up as a potential poll. But look, it is an interesting question. Obviously, recently he's struggled a little bit, and when we say struggled, we're talking about a guy who we're used to scoring every week. So when he doesn't score, that's when it's like, oh, he's struggling a little bit, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. I think Rodri coming back into the side for City is going to help Haaland a great deal, and I think that could be worth keeping him. But like you said, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you don't have him and he scores another hat trick, then you're in, fantasy Premier League, danger right there. But again, like the other week when we were talking, should we captain Haaland? Should we captain someone else? And he didn't score. The people who took the risk and captained someone else ended up getting some big points for that.
Yes.
So you've got to ask yourself, are you prepared to take the risk? Are you sitting mid-table in your league and you need that little something to push you ahead? This could be it. But you've got to be prepared to take the risk.
All right, so we keep an Haaland, but do we captain Haaland this game week? Is this the game week that he returns? Brighton a little shaky as well too, right? They got some rest from their Europa League fixture. They had some nice international break there, so the guys should more than be rested. Haaland did not look good for Norway in the qualifiers, but do we captain him? There are some great options as well that are up there for captain. Do we captain Haaland? Yes, keep him, but do we captain him?
Look, I think it's we spoke about this a little bit before we started this episode, but with some of the other options out there this week, I think it'd be hard to captain him, to justify captaining him. Like you said, he wasn't really too impressive against with Norway in midweek with the internationals. But I think when you look at teams like Liverpool with the derby this weekend, Everton. Now Everton have not been playing well, and you look at someone like Mo Salah, who has just contributed so much already this season. He seems to be in that purple patch, and historically, when he's done that in past seasons, he just keeps going and going and going. And he turns into a bit of a Haaland in a way. If you don't captain him, you could be in a bit of trouble. On top of that as well, Heung-min Son and both Maddison have been playing very well in Tottenham, taking on Fulham this week. I mean, that's a pretty weak side for them to come up against. Yeah, some big points to be earned there. So there's some other options, Jared. I'm not sure if Haaland is the right option just based on his very recent form. I know we're really splitting hairs here, but his very recent form, I'd say there's other options this week probably.
Yeah. Right. I also want to shout out Paul and Mark. Paul can't make right now, Johnny, because there's some terrible traffic right now. We're having some lovely weather. And when you have lovely weather, it causes a lot of traffic. So
well, that's also called being a Manchester United supporter, Jared. I wouldn't want to show my face at the moment either. Shots fired.
Shots fired. Damn.
That's it.
Wow. Do I feel sorry for you?
As a fellow man, you can't. That's it.
Ouch.
He might jump on now, actually.
Yeah, he might. Moving right along. So I want to start the show a bit differently, right? So we just want to let's get our bearings back, right? This might be the first time we open the app for the week. Some of us since the break, right? I know that's me. Right? I've been busy with cricket fantasy recently, right? Cricket has me very busy. So let's take a crack. So game week 9, we're gonna look at. So we have Liverpool, Everton, as you mentioned, great fixture. I think Wolves, Bournemouth is a great fixture as well. A great differential there might be Neto. Pedro Neto is a great option. Brentford have not been too hot, so I'm not gonna keep them for a little bit for now. Man City are playing Brighton. Very tricky fixture. Man City now could possibly face a 3-game straight losing streak.
That would be
possibly. No, it's possible. Not saying it's going to happen, but it's possible.
It's very possible, but unbelievable if it was to happen.
Especially if at the Etihad.
Oh, because scenes. You can imagine the papers the next day. You can imagine the English media tear that apart. Far out.
Yeah. I mean, all 100 of their fans being so disappointed, you know. So,
jeez, we're firing some shots this morning, Jared. Far
out. Well, I must say factual shots. So they only have 100 fans. Let's be real, right? But because if Pep had to beg them to make noise last season and beg them to be part of the 12th, right? It's there. I'm not making this up, not being spiteful, right? Now, Brighton have had some fitness issues as well. They are seeing that their squad is a bit thin with the Europe and Premier League, trying to balance Premier League, but they had a break, so maybe they might be well oiled. I think it's safe to assume as well that City might have had more internationals out on duty than Brighton as well, right? I think Ferguson did well. He scored during the international break, so he's back fit. That's good to see. So I don't know. It's going to be a very interesting one, but the key factor, Rodri is back, and we saw how vital he is. Right, he is very critical especially with no De Bruyne right now in the team. Grealish is making his way back fitness-wise. Bernardo's back, so maybe with Rodri to solidify that midfield, this could be a trump card here and maybe the turning point for City. But we know how Brighton like to play. All that being said and done, Johnny, I think Alvarez, Haaland must have. If it don't have Haaland, you want to stick without Haaland, I say just stick with Alvarez and go from there. Even Grealish might be a decent shout. I don't know what you think. What's your thoughts on this fixture?
Look, like you said it perfectly, Jared. Big fixture, huge ramifications depending on the result, of course. And it's so. I can't believe we're in a situation, or we've been in a situation this season where we look at Man City and their squad and what they have at their disposal, and we're saying, geez, they've got a lot of injuries and it's actually affecting them. Because they almost have 2 starting 11s in that squad that would take on the league easily. But they're finding themselves in a situation now where these injuries are taking effect with no De Bruyne, like you said. having Rodri out was a massive loss for them. So him coming back into the side is a big positive. Matoma taking a bit of a knock during internationals is going to hurt Brighton, depending on how he comes back and if he's fit enough to play. So, it is a really interesting game. I would think that Pep would be taking this one very, very seriously. And
Yes.
I can't see any result except a Man City win. I know you don't want to hear that, Jared. But my other thing I would say is I've had Alvarez and Haaland in my side from day dot. And if you are going to try and take that risk and move Haaland on for a couple of weeks while they've got some tough games and while their form isn't as great as it's been in the past, you have to have Alvarez if you're going to make that risky move, because at the very least, if Haaland does score a bunch of goals, you know that Alvarez is going to be right next to him and he's probably going to assist
With
one or two of
assist,
those
yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
So you sort of it sort of harshens the blow of not having Haaland if you do have Alvarez there, and he's a lot cheaper. So definitely worth getting a look into your side.
I want to bring Rachel in because Rachel is one of those that dumped Haaland, right?
Far
So
out. I knew it,
how long do you
Rachel. I knew you would
intend?
be one of those.
How long do you intend to not keep Haaland?
For right now, 3 weeks. I brought in Salah instead of Haaland because I like Liverpool's fixtures for the next 3 weeks. I also brought in Watkins. I'm still keeping my fingers crossed for Hoyland. He did really well over the international break. I know you're laughing, Johnny, but he did well over the international break. So I need him to perform on English soil. That's what I want. Please, this is the week. In week 9. He's my differential this week.
Okay. Yeah. No best now.
Yeah. Oh, my
So
God.
if Haaland bags a hat-trick against Brighton,
Then I'll suck it up. Yeah.
no, but you're gonna bring him in one time or no?
No. My game plan is minimum have him out for 3 weeks.
So he bags hat-tricks, Brighton, Man U, Bournemouth.
Then I lose those points.
Hey, Jared, that's the risk, mate. That's the risk. You've got to accept the
What
risk
if he does
if you're going to make this move.
2 points and Salah gives me 25?
Exactly. And Rachel, that happened last week or the other week. Last game week, Haaland only had the 2 points. Salah bagged 2 goals. And, the people who switched him to captain were laughing. They were, So it's a risk, Rach. It is. But I know that you're the right person to take the risk.
I'm the risk taker.
Definitely.
I captained Morris. I was the only person to captain Morris. And I got through and I won that game week. So I'm
there you go.
So I either win big or I lose big. No middle ground.
That's the way to go. All or nothing.
No middle ground.
All right. So
that's not your style, Jared, is it?
Jared has nothing to say.
Hey, I just say when they're chasing around, you had to do what you had to do. Newcastle versus Crystal Palace. This frustrates him because I would love to bring Isak, but Isak is injured. Callum is injured, as always. You never know who to go for. Almiron is not a bad show. But man, not too sure of his status as yet. Right? Gordon is not still. He's back. He's back this week.
He's back, yeah.
He's playing.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
He's a chance. I like Bruno as well.
You will have to play now because Tonali might be in the air with this ban. And then Palace now, as if finally did something, now he's injured. Right? Mateta looking alright, Anderson looking alright, but Newcastle have been playing really well. And Newcastle looking good for the clean sheet. So this is a tricky one. But are there any assets from this one? I mean, Trippier, I guess, is the best option, Johnny.
Yeah, I'm sticking with Trippier for Newcastle at the moment. I do have Bruno G as well. I think he's such a quality player in that midfield. And with the outs that they have, they're going to look for a creative outlet that they don't always, or they haven't been going to as much this season. And I believe that Bruno's the kind of guy that if he's relied on, if he's the one that you need to rely on, he steps his game up to another level. He did it last season for Newcastle when they didn't quite have that solid midfield that they've had this season. And he relishes responsibility. So he's definitely one to look at as one that we haven't sort of mentioned yet. But Bruno, he's definitely he's one that I would look at for your midfield. But yeah, defense is hard to go past Trippier, isn't it? He's just having such a phenomenal season.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
Newcastle's momentum as well, you just look at it and go, you know, if they hadn't been on the run they've been on, you go, this is a bit of a danger game because Crystal Palace have some really good players. But I think that at the moment, with the momentum that they're carrying, this should be a pretty easy win for Newcastle. They'll be looking at this going, yeah, this is 3 points here. Let's move on to the next week, you know?
All right. Now, I want to throw a differential out there. My boy Iwoni is injured. Nottingham Forest faces Luton. I don't know if you see where I'm going with this, Johnny. Right? Callum Hudson-Odoi might be a boss shot.
Yeah.
Boss
It's been a
shot.
while since I've really heard that name mentioned.
Yeah,
Callum Hudson-Odoi.
he scored. He scored up with 5 minutes. Yeah. Yeah. Callum doing things. So, and he assisted last game, didn't he? Hold on.
I think
Not the Palace game, the other game.
Yeah,
he scored and I've been doing things. Yeah, he did things.
Yeah, he's having he's got a bit of a new lease on life, doesn't he, Callum Hudson-Odoi? I think anyone's a chance against Luton this season. They pulled out some pretty crazy results from time to time, or at least done better than what they were perceived to have done in certain game weeks. But they've also, you can see the standard isn't quite there. So if a team gets on top of them early, it's pretty hard for them to get back into the game. That's what Nottingham Forest are going to have to do. And I think, Callum Hudson-Odoi, like new lease on life, that man, who knows? He's a good chance of the differential for sure, Jared.
Or you want to get rid of a defender? Sujouri. But that's a bit wild. Just being wild. Now, the big game for the weekend, of course, London Derby. Not the London, but London Derby. Chelsea versus Arsenal. Arsenal high flying. Undefeated. Chelsea trying to catch themselves, trying to catch their bearings. Jackson is back in the fold. Sterling up and down form. But nobody else seems to be up. Augusto is back, so that's a good sign. Because right now he's keeping out. Well, even if Eugene's fit, he keep reaching out the side. Caldwell looking decent.
Isn't Caldwell injured?
I don't. There was a niggle, but I think he should be fine. Because they're forcing him. Yeah, they're forcing him. Arsenal looking good. No Saka. Saka might come back. Might. But I'm happy to say we may not need him. The obvious replacements of Martinelli is back in the fray.
Yeah. Very important player. Very important player.
Would you bring in Martinelli this week?
Yeah, if I could.
Is this a good week to
If I could. Yeah.
transfer?
If I could, yeah. And he loves Chelsea.
He does. I think Martinelli is such an important player for us. And I think that his absence was very overlooked. And probably because, obviously, as you say, Jared, Arsenal are undefeated this season, so it's easy to overlook an absent player. But someone like Martinelli, bringing that guy back in the side, especially when Saka is out, like that's just golden luck for Arsenal right there. Like you saw the impact he had coming back. Like he's a phenomenal player. I don't care what anyone says. He's absolute superstar, and I think Arsenal are going to be even stronger having him like fully fit this week back into the side. Chelsea are going to be in trouble. However, Jared, and I know you don't want to hear this, but I'm doing a little bit of a devil's advocate here. Chelsea are starting to go on a little run.
Yes,
Jackson's starting to find his feet a little bit. And I mentioned him at the start of the season as someone to look out for. He had a great year in La Liga last year. I think it looks like things are starting to fall into place at Chelsea. So this is a great opportunity for Arsenal to put them back in their place, mate. This is a chance for Arsenal to show them what it's really like towards the top of the table. So it'll be a really interesting game. I'm really excited for this one.
I want to see the injuries. Let me see. Okay.
What are we looking at?
He has a lot. And then Jackson has a wrist injury, but he should be fine.
Yeah.
Wow.
James is still a fair way off, isn't he?
Yeah. And then Chilwell.
Yeah, Chelsea. Chelsea
Bad.
have had some bad injuries this season. It hasn't helped them for sure, but they're starting to build that momentum. I feel like things are starting to click for them. I want to believe that things are starting to click for them because it feels weird them not being close to the top six. You know what I mean? It feels weird them not
It
really
doesn't.
challenging.
That's
Um,
just you. That's just you, Johnny. No, it does not feel. Does not
well,
feel weird at
either way,
all.
Chad, I think you have a chance this weekend to really put some hurt on Chelsea, and I know that you'll particularly enjoy that. So there is a chance there. I think it's going to be an absolutely massive game. Obviously, game of the week.
Yeah.
Definitely one that everyone's going to be watching.
Right. We also we have a next. Am I calling it too soon? No, not yet. Right. But we have Chelsea. Very interesting game. Sheffield hosting Manchester United. Now, to me, none of the promotional teams have been wowing me. Like of past seasons where some of them come up and really hold their own.
Yeah.
Yeah. This batch has not been as entertaining as some of the past few
Yeah.
seasons. But Sheffield have been scoring, right? Despite whoever the opposition is, they have been eking out a few goals here and there, right? So not a bad shot, but this has to be the game that forget fantasy, John. This just has to be the game that Manchester United team performs for their fans. Their fans are suffering, reeling, right? They don't deserve this.
I'll tell you though, Jared, it's not going to be easy away at Sheffield. You know, we talk about them being a promoted team, not impressed the promoted teams. I completely agree with you. I think you absolutely nailed that one because usually at least one of the promotion teams bring up, you know, a striker or someone who just goes on a crazy run. They score every week. It could be a defender, even a midfielder, something.
Correct.
They get one or two players that go on a run and they get a few results. They pinch a few results here and there, and you think, oh, these guys are going to be tough to play at home. We're going to, you know, we need to watch out for these guys. But you're right, the promotion teams are disappointed a lot this season. But I will say, like you said, Sheffield have at least found ways to score. And teams who have found ways to score against United this season have found a lot of success. Now, if Paul was here with us, he would tell us that Manchester United are about to hit their form and they're about to do all this, but he's told us that week in, week out, and it's just not happening. So I think that unless by some Rachel miracle Hoyland scores a hat-trick and they win, I think that Sheffield United have a really big chance of upsetting the apple cart this week.
Nope, not this week.
What? Apparently, because Rashford cut his hair, Johnny.
So
right?
My theory is that Rashford just needed to get a haircut, which he did this week, which took them into
He's got the fresh fade. He's feeling good.
So once he keeps
I would
that
love to
fresh
see that happen.
Saturday, we're good to go.
Grasping at straws, Johnny. Grasping at straws, Johnny. Long may it continue.
Oh God! I love it. I love your theory, Rachel. I like the theory.
Like anything.
Right. Villa, West Ham. This to me, right after the Chelsea Arsenal, more than the City Brighton, critical. I'm very excited by this one because both teams doing well, trying to balance Europe and the Premier League, getting some decent results here and there. Fully 11 playing well, and a few standout performances, a few great transfers in. Diaby has been amazing for Villa. Ward-Prowse are just settling at West Ham like he's always been there. This is a great matchup. I cannot wait to see how this one unfolds. I'm very excited by this one. And then, of course, go ahead.
No, well, I was going to say you're 100% right. This is one of those games where you look at if you're building a multi-bet, and you come up to this game and you go, I'm leaving this one out because anything could happen in this game. It is, but like you said it perfectly, Jared, both teams going through similar situations, both getting results here and there, both have some really exciting players that can change a game. Wow. I genuinely don't know what's going to happen in that game.
I think I see Villa home very tricky. Tricky.
Yeah, very tough game.
Now, if it's a draw, I want 5-0, but I don't want 5-0 because my one may defend. So that'd be 0-0. How do we
I
league?
have
You have
I
Watkins?
have Watkins, I have Cash, I have Anderson.
Nil.
So I mean,
How do we nil?
I don't know.
Jeez, you've
Nil
gone in
nil.
deep on this game, Rach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nil
Wow.
and bonus points for Cash and like Sufal and those kind of guys.
Yeah.
I have Bowen.
That's
I need Bowen.
well, you're lucky he's doing well, so he's a chance.
Yeah. So 5-all. I think 5-all is
I
fair.
need Watkins to score like 2 goals.
Well, a hat trick for Watkins, a hat trick for Bowen.
Okay.
2 assists for Cash.
All right.
2 assists for
You
Sufal.
guys need to get out of the clouds, all right? It's not
I think that's fair. That's fair.
Nothing for Anderson.
5-all.
No, this West Ham Villa talking about it. But Anderson, no, not that we don't be pass all already. Anderson get an assist, man. He get an assist, man. Right?
All
But yeah,
right,
I
so
need
back to reality. Back to reality where we live in the real world. It's going to be a close game. I don't know if 5-all is the go, but it'll be an exciting game. There you go.
I thought you
I have
penalty save.
Areola, so
A penalty save.
Yeah. Clean sheet.
Yeah, but it can't be Watkins penalty save, you know. Yeah. Yeah, that make up your mind. You see, Tony, you see. You see? When
You
you go to
guys,
the
are,
gym,
you guys are definitely leaning too much into the fantasy side of this. You know, there's a lot more fantasy going on than actual Premier League in this.
got a dream, Johnny. Right? But Johnny, who your players in this match? Talk to me. I know you have somebody in this match.
Yeah, Cash. Yeah, I've got Cash from Villa. So,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. What do you think about Cash, Rachel? Should I keep him?
Yeah, you should keep Cash.
Yes, his price went up this week. He's what, 5.1 now?
Hmm.
I bought him at
Yeah.
4 point something. Like
Ooh,
4 point.
Not bad. Not bad.
Yeah, not bad at all.
I'm
Pressure.
keeping him. He's delivered for me, even on the bench. He came off the bench and delivered. So,
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
like I had on the bench a week and he gave me points. So,
I just died on Digny Hill because Digny won set pieces, so I just hold on. And it killed him with Mings. Mings not there, so he has to be a little more central. That real messing him up right now, but I'll be patient with
I'm
him.
happy with Cash.
Yeah.
I'll keep him for at least another 3 weeks.
Then another London derby, and the league leaders, right? The league leaders, that those guys from down the road, and of course Fulham, right? Tottenham versus Fulham. I can't believe it, Johnny. League leaders.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I'm not stressed or worried at all. I'm actually happy Tottenham are top of the
That's it.
Premier League because I know for a fact that every time we get past New Year's Day, Tottenham drop off completely. It happens every single season. And I promise you, and I'm sorry, Tottenham fans, if you're listening and if you're watching it, I'm sorry. But you know it as well as I do. You don't have what it takes to go the full season. I love what Ange is doing. He's an Aussie, and I'm a big Ange fan. I love him, and I think it's great. But let's be realistic here. Tottenham do not have what it takes to carry this out for a full season. So let's enjoy it while it lasts. Get Heung-min Son into your side. Get Maddison into your side. Enjoy some points while they're getting them. But I tell you what, there's going to be an eject button time where you need to get rid of some of Tottenham players, and it's going to be coming up when we hit the new year. I promise you.
Well, yeah, by game week 12. There's some interesting games coming up. Very interesting games coming up.
But Johnny, that was when Kane was in the squad, right? Now that Kane is no longer there, maybe they could go all the way.
Very true, and I brought that up. I mentioned that the other week, Rachel, and I'm glad you brought it up again because it's funny to see. Son looks like he did a few seasons ago when he had the most goals with Salah. Maddison looks incredible, and I don't know if they would look the same with Kane at the front. He does demand a lot of attention, doesn't he? So these guys are now able to shine without him in the side. So you're right, it could be different this time around, but history tells us that Tottenham they just don't have what it takes to stick around.
But they definitely have to buy another striker. Richarlison is not it. Not it.
Yeah, agreed, 100%.
Painstakingly go after Tony or something. They should go after someone that's Premier League proven. Because Maddison just needs a target man. Maddison does not need anything fancy. He just needs someone up front that can turn and shoot. That's it. Or even if Tony's there, Tony pulls 3 defenders to him because he's very strong and then tucks the ball away to Son or whoever coming in, Pedro Porro, whoever,
Yeah, Pedro.
right? That's it. That's all they need right now. But
Absolutely agreed, 100%. I think if I was a manager in any Premier League side at the moment and I needed a striker, I'd be trying to throw the kitchen sink at Alvarez from Man City. If
oh
you could
yeah,
somehow get Alvarez from Man City at his age, just the way he plays the game, I love watching him. And I clearly don't like watching City play football, but it's so hard not to love watching him play. He's such a great player at such a
yeah,
young
right.
age. He'd be the one that I'd go for 150%.
The money they'll be calling for him, but yeah, he's a great shout. He's a very
Just
good
be
shout.
worth too much money though. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
He'd be worth way too
yeah,
much.
but he's a great shout. All right, so let's, as I said, we do things a little different this time around. So let's take a look now at the team. So this is the YouTube team for game week 9. I didn't do anything. We have one transfer, I believe, in the bank, 0.2 in the bank. So one free transfer and 0.2 ITB. All right, so Turner facing Luton, Cash facing West Ham, Gabriel facing Chelsea, Kabori versus Nottingham Forest, and Buemo versus Burnley, Madison Fulham, Rashford Sheffield, Salah Everton, Mitoma City, Alvarez Brighton, and Haaland Brighton. And the bench, of course, Edison, Mubama, Botman, Gusto. Johnny, I genuinely think I may leave this team as is.
Well, the only suggestions that I would have is I'd put Botman as your first sub, just in case he's fit. Because you know that if he's going to play, he's going to get some points. He's a great defender. You're really just
Correct.
waiting for him to come back to slot him into the side. So if he's a chance, great, chuck him there. I think
Yeah.
Matoma's probably your only risky option. I mean,
Correct.
coming off of injury and playing City, it's going to be tough, right? And it's away as well. Away at City, injured. Yeah, if you're going to make a sub, man, if you can, if it's possible and the value's there, I think I would probably swap Matoma for someone else. But that's the only sub that really makes sense to me looking at that side.
Because if we watch Brighton's next few fixtures, are very tempting after
Very,
City.
very favourable fixtures after
Very
City.
favorable. Love it. Look at that. That is beautiful
Yeah.
right there.
That's awesome. That is green. That is green grass,
So
baby.
this is
That
this
guy's
is what
just
is
happy as Larry.
so this is what is justifying me, keeping hold on to him. Because let's say the last friendly was what? His last friendly was what, Tuesday? And he
Yeah.
would have flown to London, maybe Norwich, London. So 8-hour flight, rest. I think he should be all right for Sunday. He might come off the bench. Because if he was coming from South America, then I would have been worried about him starting.
Yeah.
Delayed real badly. So, but right there to right there, yeah, I think I'm confident. I'm confident. But his
Yeah.
fixture is what is keeping me, having me making me keep him now, right? Because I'm confident in keeping him.
Yeah,
Another
I
person,
think if you keep it as is, mate, then you get the 2 transfers next week, and you can reevaluate from there. I think if he comes off the bench for Brighton, he's still going to make an impact. He's a great impact sub. He really is. If anything, he's probably almost better coming off the bench when there's tired legs out there. He's great with the ball at his feet. He's a doctor in dribbling or something, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like,
yes,
run
yes.
doctorate.
Yes.
So he's a great impact sub. So you're right. You can probably leave that team untouched.
Yeah. And I think too, what I like, we saw it when Martinelli came on and faced Kyle Walker. And Kyle Walker's amazing.
Huge.
Phenomenal, but we saw the difference. So imagine a rested Matoma coming on to face 85th minute or 70th minute Kyle Walker. So yeah.
Yeah, good point.
No,
Good point.
As you can see, I put the captain armband on Salah. No, I'm very much now, because again, this is the YouTube team, so I don't want to make a rash decision with this team. I'm gonna put it in our WhatsApp group and they will decide what to do. But our face value, Madison or Rashford and all are good shows. Now, yes, Rashford not been consistent, but just fixture wise. And I don't play with fixture because you've seen many times fixture blow back in our face and not yield anything, right? But
Yeah.
obviously, fixture wise, Salah, out of most of these guys, the whole midfield, Salah is the best option.
Agreed.
Yeah, I
For
think
my
Salah's the
as well too,
Salah. You've got to go with Salah or Son if you've got him in the side.
right? He because
Two
15
options.
points last game, then 10 the one before, 10 the one before, 8, 5. So right, and he only lost out on points because of a terrible
Yeah.
VR decision, but we won't go there. Not that kind of show. We're not triggering Johnny. But
Don't
we
go
are in
there.
solidarity with you with that because we lost some points because of that. Right? But yeah, so I think I'm confident. I can confidently say I'll leave the captain armband on Salah, and I'm good with that. What are
That's a good
your
shout. Yeah.
what are your transfer plans, Johnny? What are your plans for the game we coming up? And if you are you able to share your screen? If not, you can just let us know what your plans coming up.
Well, I don't think I can share my screen, but what I can do is I'm going to tell you I'm probably going to leave it this week. We talk about it a lot, but if you can get yourself in a week where you don't have to make a transfer, that's as good as gold, really, because you're leaving yourself with two options for the following week. You never know what's going to happen in a game week. There could be injuries, there could be all types of things. So having two subs two transfers is fantastic for those situations. So for me this week, look, I said that potentially Cash would be a chance to maybe be transferred out and bring in another defender. But as Rachel said, he's been playing quite well. He let me down a little bit last week, but otherwise, or last game week. But otherwise, I think he's probably worth keeping in the side for now. I would look at holding on to the transfer because of, like you said, Brighton have got an amazing run after this week against City. They've got a really good run. So it'd be worth holding on to a couple of transfers to try and bring in a couple of Brighton players. I don't currently have no Brighton players in my side. So I'll be looking to potentially hold this transfer for this week and then and bring in some Brighton guys next week. But I played my wild card last week. So I've pretty much made sure that my team, that the idea was to set it up so that I didn't have to make a transfer this week. And fortunately, I haven't had any injuries yet, and it's looking okay. So I'll probably just leave it for this week, I reckon.
Yeah, solid. No, I have this guy up on the screen here, Johnny. Now I want to
He's
look at
currently in my midfield.
right. You mentioned him. I want to look
Yeah.
at his fixtures and see if we could justify bringing him in, if he's worth the punt, right? Just for now, he's playing Bournemouth away, but Neto. He's playing Bournemouth away next. Then they're hosting Newcastle. Then they're away to Sheffield. Then they're hosting Spurs. Let's stop right there.
Okay.
Right? So, the Bournemouth fixture, awesome. That's a no-brainer because the Bournemouth have dropped a little bit.
Mhm.
Solanke scoring his goals, doing his thing, but Bournemouth have not been getting the results. All right, shockingly, because they weren't that terrible last season. They were very edgy, and they were taking vital points from teams last season. The Newcastle one is very tricky because Wolves is still Wolves at the end of the day, right? Yes, they beat City and they're doing okay, but Wolves are still Wolves. So Bournemouth, Newcastle, Sheffield. Johnny, and to the viewers, you can let us know in the comment, Rachel, is that fixture on worth the punt to you? And then they say you dump him in 12 because he's facing Spurs. So again, he's facing Bournemouth now. He's in peak form. Let's look at his form. Right? So 5, 4, 9, 5, 10, 7. That's his last few games. That's
Good form. Good form. Yeah.
Right? Some form for someone of that team, solid. Right? Because that's more than a few than Haaland in the past few games. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I want to know what you think of, is that form worth the punch with this particular differential, Mr. Neto?
Look,
Is that picture on this?
Yeah, I think at the price that he's at, 5.7, I mean, it's not the biggest risk in the world. Like, if you do decide to pick him up, Like 5.7 is quite cheap. It allows you to have a bit more in the bank for some other players. But at the same time, like you said, this game this week is a bit of a no-brainer. I think he'd definitely be one of the more desirable players to bring into your squad this week. Play him on the pitch and see how he goes against Bournemouth. And hey, look, if at the end of the day, if you have to get rid of him again next week because they're coming up against Newcastle, and you think, I could probably bring in a Brighton player instead next week, and you can do that because he's cheap. Like you can bring him in and out of the side if you have to. It is a bit fiddly, but you can do that. If you want to, if you're talking about keeping him in for the Newcastle game and the Sheffield game after that, it's not a bad shout. Like you said, Wolves at home is a bit different. So if it was Newcastle away, I'd probably say no. I'd probably say, no, that's probably not worth the risk. But Newcastle at home is a good chance. His form's excellent. We know when players get in that purple patch when they're scoring lots of points, it continues for a while. So, definitely worth bringing in this week and looking at next week for sure. But it is a bit of a risk, again, like you said, but you've got to risk it to get some of these points over your competition.
So I was actually looking at Wang Hee-chan from Wolves, not Neto. And considering bringing him in.
But for who?
Hoyland.
No, instead of Rashford. So if
Rashford got his haircut though. He got his haircut.
He said Rashford got his haircut.
Yeah. So if Rashford belongs against Sheffield, I'm seeing it, definitely transferring him out for somebody else.
Okay.
But at this point, best you keep Rashford to the end of the season, or
why?
We have been so patient with him. This is wow.
No, but seriously, Wang Hee-chan is the one I'm looking at.
All right, no, that's not bad, and he has been decent,
and he's been scoring.
Yeah, not bad.
He's been on fire. I reckon he's been a lot better than Hoyland. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So our next person I want to throw into the discussion. So we have a few dilemmas. We have some injury dilemmas. We have players that have not been consistent. We want to try to get rid of some players. No problem. If your midfield looks like my midfield and you're just seeing patience because Boom was still there, Rash was still there, right? Just patience right now. So
wow.
I want to throw in this young man, Diaby. So Diaby again has been, we had him early on, dropped him versus Everton, and then that was it. He embarrassed us since then. Now, his run is pretty nice. West Ham next, as we know. After that, they're hosting Luton, away to Nottingham, hosting Fulham. That's not bad.
A good run.
That's a damn good run. Right? Not see 6.7, so a little more expensive, a little more pricier than Neto. But again, at least within a team that is performing well recently, doing well, good form, and not a bad shout for some of your woes or injury woes, or if you're looking for a decent punt, I think Musa Diaby is not a bad shout. Or you wanna wait till after the West Ham game, you hold a transfer. He's a good person for the transfer reader. If you don't want to touch him right now, but you say, all right, I'll rule, get my 2 transfers, and I'll bring him in game week 10 for Luton.
I think that's fine. I think, Jared, I think that what we're discovering here when talking about some of these players like Diaby, like Villa, like, Brighton guys as well, I think what we're discovering for this game week is it's a bit of a whole game week. It's a game week where if you've got the right players in your team for this week, it's worth just holding them and having a look at some of these fixtures next week with your 2 lots of transfers, bringing in your Brighton players, bringing in your Villa players, because their run is very similar over the next 3 game weeks after this week. There's some serious points to be had for some of those sides. So it could end up being that this week is a bit of a holding game week where, okay, if you can hold on and end up with 2 transfers next week, you've got some good players to pick from and with some good games coming up.
I agree. Nice to be joined here by Caps. Thanks for coming through. How are you going?
Good night. Back from the traffic.
Boy. Hey. I want to dump in hot seat one time, asking you a million questions at once. First, keeping Haaland or you dropping Haaland?
Keep Haaland.
Right? You captain Haaland this game week or you captain someone else?
Yeah,
You have to tell us too.
Captain Haaland this game week.
All right, nice. Next, what? Next, yeah, I want the best goalkeeper, defender, midfielder, and striker for this game week. In any order.
This game week alone or for
This
future?
game week alone. This game week 9. Nuevo.
This game week 9. The best goalkeeper would be Onana.
What?
And they play Sheffield United.
What?
That's no. The views and thoughts expressed by people are not those
All right,
objectives.
hang on a second.
Now, but hey, you never know, man. You never
And
know.
Manchester playing Sheffield United.
Yeah, but Archer going and bag up Onana. Why? Archer going and turn up Onana. But go ahead.
But if I was an affiliate, I would go with Onana. If I was an
All
affiliate.
right, no problem.
Yeah.
Defender. I know Vex. Go ahead. We'll analyze
Defender.
after.
My defender, best defender for this game week, Virgil van Dijk.
All right.
Yeah,
All right.
Yeah.
Right. Brought us back in. Right.
Back now. I'm back.
Yeah.
You see, the thing with Virgil now is that you see that he can take penalties. So you never know. You never know when Salah not on the pitch who will be the next penalty taker.
Yeah.
So they have a high upside, and then they have the fixtures for playing for the clean sheets. So they have Everton in the morning game also, which is a kind of low scoring, kind of cagey game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Midfielder. Midfielder this game week. You can just scroll the fixtures.
Sure.
midfielder.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Put you in there. Yeah, we Liverpool,
Yeah,
Everton.
they can hold it right there. Midfielder,
Right.
a good midfielder this week. There's no clear but I will go with one of these Spurs boys. Maybe Son or Madison.
Okay.
Yeah, that
Okay.
makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. And striker this week. You see, the striker I'm gonna give you, he not sure to start but Darwin. Because he played 90
Right.
last night. But
Right.
Darwin is on my team. So I would say he's the best striker. But this week, given that he probably won't start, you have was the guy from Manchester?
Hoyland.
Hoyland, yeah.
All right.
He's
No.
scoring consistently. He's scoring goals consistently. For club
Yeah,
and
but
country.
not on
Rachel
England. Not on
agrees
English
straight
soil.
away.
Not on English soil, but
This will be the week.
hopefully. Now, Darwin is a risk because we know, as I was saying earlier, we saw his opinion. The South Americans don't travel too well when they're coming back to Europe. So
Yeah.
sometimes they're rested. So and especially as their game is so early on the weekend, he may not.
I
might get
don't think he
around
would
it.
start.
Yeah,
I don't think he would start. He will get like one of those 15, 20 minutes. But you
Yeah.
see, right? That's why I like Darwin, because his impact is off the bench.
Yes.
So you can see
Yeah.
if Everton chasing a goal and he comes on, he have a better chance of scoring more goals than if he start and get
Big
hooked at
time.
60 minutes.
Big time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then he start and get hooked at 60. So as a Darwin owner, I'm very excited. Even though that he might get 20, 25 minutes max.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a good
I
call.
want to address Chronicles of Benjamin. Thanks for coming through. I understand the logic behind dropping Haaland, but I, for one, not bouncing my good head. This is Haaland we're talking about. He can come up with a mega ball at any time. Fully agree, Benjamin. And if you are
Yeah.
still there, Benjamin, are you capping him this week? That is the question now. We're keeping him, but are you capping him? Now, I love the points that Caps make, minus Onana, but I mean, you never know, John. It could pay off. It could definitely pay off. But Sheffield have been scoring. I don't know if this is the time for them to stop scoring. They have been scoring. Yes, they're not on a big winning streak or, lighting up the Premier League, but they have been scoring. And Onana's been prone to mistakes. He's not looking as that solid guy as we know him to be. So, but this could be the time. You never know. You never know.
Well, as I said, it was just for this game week. And if you watch the fixtures, I don't think I have any clear clean sheets there, other than maybe Manu.
Or maybe Turner. What about Turner?
Turner, yeah, well, I would trust Onana more than Turner for next song because Man is a better team.
Fair. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. Now, what are your transfer plans for this game, Caps?
Well, I
Oh, yeah.
wildcarded with yeah, so I will be burning. But they can pull up my team and I might see it in the island where
Yeah, no problem.
yeah, it would be somewhere like fifth or sixth or somewhere around there.
All right, hold on.
So I will be burning my transfers and starting the same 11.
Yes.
Darwin, again, I was be starting Darwin knowing that he'll probably get 15, 20 minutes.
I will just see a points team, but that's all right. So this is more or less your team still, more or less.
Yeah, same 11, just
Right.
captain on Haaland.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So why not Salah? Salah playing Everton. Why do you want to cap Salah?
Yeah, but Everton is not a bad side, they just have been getting the results.
Yeah.
So
And
I would
Mhm.
and given that Brighton probably perhaps concede the most goals in the league so far. It's just a simple, easy decision for me. Because
Okay.
not everybody have Salah either. Everybody have Haaland.
Yeah.
So he will hurt me. Yeah, he will hurt me if he don't bang.
I just
I
think
think
that
Salah is still essential, yeah. Haaland is still essential, yeah.
no, and especially no. Are you owing if Rodri was not back? Will you go into Capella?
Yeah, I still would.
Okay.
Because all right, it's just like this, right? It's just like last week. Last week everybody had 3 Spurs and the game ended up 1-0, right? So your weekend practically dead here if you captain one of these Spurs. You had 4 players there in that game. And they didn't get much points with it. It's the same thing with this Liverpool. They have drawn 0-0 plenty times with Everton in the past. If you check back the history, they have a lot of 0-0s. So this game could be a 1-0 either way, a 1-1 and 0-0, a low scoring game. I'll be very surprised if Liverpool come out the blocks and hit Everton for 4. So my decision is based on the fact that Brighton always concedes a couple of goals each game, and Haaland will most likely be involved in that.
All right. Counterpoint, Johnny. As a Liverpool fan, I want all bias.
No, I always try and remain non-biased in this show when I can. But no, I think it's a good point. It's a really good point. Brighton's defense has been lacking big time this season. Haaland's form, and we've said it before earlier in the show, it hasn't been great, but to his standards, and you've got to remember his standards are so much higher than everyone else's standards because of just how prolific he is as a goal scorer. So you'd be silly to at least not have him in the side this week. I think Alvarez and Haaland are a must this week against Brighton to have in your side. As far as captain goes, I'd probably steer clear of, personally, what I'm going to do, and this is as a Liverpool fan, I'm taking the captaincy off Salah and I'm putting it on Heung-min Son. That's my captain for this week. I just see so much value in Tottenham this week. I feel like they're firing on all cylinders at the moment. Heung-min Son looks incredible. And I think he is due, not due, I think that this kind of game is suited for him to really just set the place on fire. So I'm thinking Heung-min Son for me this week and captain. If Haaland does go off, I've got him up front anyway. Yeah, I'll miss out on the captain points, the double points, but it's not as much of a dip. And who knows? It could mean that Son gets a couple of goals and Haaland could remain scoreless again. And you just take that risk sometimes, I guess.
Mm-hmm. You'll have me tempting to cap Alvarez, yes?
Yeah.
No.
What's the good thing about the game this season is that you have more captaincy options. So this week you have 3 clear captain.
Yeah.
And that's the good thing about the game. So, it's a play the game to how you want. And then, it's a kind of free-for-all now. Like, you make the correct decision and they could have a good rank rise. So that's good for the game. You have 3 clear captaincy choices. And the split in the game is very important. You won't be stagnant for too long. Is that you drop real bad or you raise real high?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll take
100%.
that.
100%.
All right, so you can wrap up slowly now. Caps, this is the team here on screen, the channel team. Anything you will do with this, 1 free transfer, 0.2 in the bank. I am rolling the transfer, but I'm gonna put it in the WhatsApp group, of course. Have you all let you have your see. But what do you think first glance?
Maybe just the Cabori. You have anybody on the bench?
I have Gusto and Batman.
But I think Botman might he training, so it could be possible. So you could leave the team as is. You start Botman and your bench Kabore. So in case
Okay.
Botman no play, you have to worry. Yeah,
All right. I'll do it one time.
That's good.
One time,
Yeah, that's a good shout.
right?
yeah.
And I'll giving you the captaincy since you're one of the guys here. Captain, tell me, who you put it on? You saying Alan?
Yeah, I was sick of that.
All right, I'm listening. Boom.
I don't think none of us would be surprised if Haaland comes and scores 4 goals against Brighton. It wouldn't be a surprise. If Salah comes out Saturday morning,
Yeah.
7:30 Trinidad times and scores 4 against Everton, I would be very surprised.
Okay.
Let's hope he does.
Yeah. Well, once I have him, my God. Well, all right. So,
So you see,
Johnny, go ahead.
I own Salah from the beginning. So every time Salah scored points, I had a big rank rise, whether he captain or not. So that was the advantage of me having Salah
That's
for
true.
the year.
Yeah.
So that's why Haaland would hurt my rank more, especially now than a Salah. Than not captain.
Yeah.
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 And then with these kind of scenarios, is you need at least two, maybe one or two buffers. I want to say buffer.
Yeah.
So fine, we captain Haaland. We didn't go with Salah. So let's say 2 points from Haaland. Salah does his thing. Only captainers. But we need, let's say in this case, I need Madison to at least have assisted twice.
Yeah.
And then I need a clean sheet, at least some cash. And then I might feel that.
But here the thing, Jared, right? This team, right? Let me just use this team as an example. Rashford is a slightly differential now.
Right.
So is Mbomo, and they have good fixtures. So even though, let me just say, Salah goes up and Haaland banks and Rashford and Mbomo does something, you still probably won't lose any rank. You might still gain rank because you have a couple differential in the team, and they have real good fixtures. Like I won't deny that they would do well this weekend.
Yeah.
Even Gabriel against Chelsea is a good clean sheet shot.
Clean sheet shot.
Yeah.
Correct. I fully agree. Yeah. All right. So Johnny, we rounding up there. I just want you could give us some closing thoughts and then like some solid advice for the game week 9 before we close off.
Yeah. Look, we've talked about it at length, and I think that it's probably a game week that if you have your team sorted and you're happy with who you've got on your side, it's a game week where you can bank a transfer for next week. I think next game week you've got Brighton, who have some fantastic fixtures coming up, 3 games in a row that are very winnable. You've also got Aston Villa, who have 3 games in a row after this week that are very winnable. So you've got some teams that have some really good runs after this game week. So if you can potentially hold on to a transfer this week, get 2 next week, then you can start to bring in some of these guys who have some really good runs, really good games coming up in a row, and that will allow you to solidify your team across multiple game weeks, and then you can just do little things, make 1 sub a week after that, and just tweak things here and there. So if you do have an opportunity to hold on to what you've got this week, I would suggest to do that. Would be my number 1 suggestion. And then, like we said, the captaincy is going to be the difference between you winning your group this week or you getting the most points in your group this week or not. I think because, like we said, like Cap said as well, there's 3 potential options for some really good captains this week. And if you look beyond those 3, there's probably a couple of others that have an opportunity to score some big points this week as well. So we know the main 3, but there are probably a couple of others that might be worth a chance or might be worth a risk as well. So your captain, spend extra time on picking your captain this week. Really think about it because it's going to be the difference this week in who's going to win the game week, I think.
Yeah. Big up King Mambo. She's in Liverpool, Villa, West Ham, and Brighton have amazing fixtures coming up, and we went
there you
through.
go. And there you go. Yeah.
We hand-picked the players from some of those already, right? And we even were shouting Wolves, just minus in Newcastle, right? Because of Neto looking like a good shout. Caps. Any game week 9 advice? Solid game week 9 advice.
Yeah, I totally agree with all the points Fellow Palan has made just now, especially with holding a transfer, and because the game going to change pretty soon with the fixtures. So you have a lot of chance to make transfers in the coming weeks that you would wish you had a couple in the bank into game week 10. So it's a good week to burn a transfer unless you can't feel 11 or unless you're playing the wild card. You could just hold the transfer and wait it out this week because a lot of the big teams have South American influence players. So like Villa, Liverpool, Man City. So it's going to be all over the place. Might affect Liverpool the most given that they have the first game. So it's a good week to wait and hold. And also in the coming game weeks we can't get too greedy because all the fixtures changing with a lot of the teams. And we can't have everybody. We could only have 7 attackers. So
Correct.
this week is a good week to wait and kind of eye test some of the players. Use this week as a scouting. I don't think you could lose the game in this week. So
Yeah.
use this week as a good scouting. Watch some of the games and play the eye test. If it's DRB over Mitoma or Madison over Rashford or something like that, you need to play it by eye this week. Because when you commit in 10, you commit for a while. So use this week as a scouting week.
Yeah.
Once
Now,
you get the
before-
captaincy correct this week, you should be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, that is it. Because especially if you're holding on to that transfer, the captaincy now is what will really set you up really nice for the game.
Yeah. But what is
the
influence you choosing a captain? Just impulse, what? Fixtures, what?
form and history. Form and history. Because sometimes history repeats itself. It's like when I say, well, son loves Arsenal, and I tell people the son loves like things like that, and son loves Liverpool, things like that. No, so things like that. I look at the history, and that's what influences me the most. But this season, as you notice, I'm playing a little different where I'm trying to stay with the pack and keeping Haaland, because otherwise I would not have kept Haaland so long or stuck with Haaland at first, right? But Haaland is Haaland, and you don't want to be, in a deficit because you didn't have Haaland. But it definitely doing.
I think Haaland is an essential player, not necessarily an essential captain.
Correct.
If you understand that.
No.
So you need his points. You need his points, but you don't necessarily have to captain him every game week.
Yeah. At this stage of the season, possible. Yeah.
Well, this is you can argue that this is the only stage of the season where you could go without him, based on the fixture. Because after that, the fixtures kind of clear back up. Especially with the double game week coming up. Yeah.
Well, especially when they're going to play the neighbors, that easy game. Food.
Hello.
Yeah.
So
I don't think Man City fixtures hard at all, to be quite honest with you. The Arsenal game was always going to be D1.
Yeah, of course.
That was always going to be D1,
Yeah, and that was the only one. I'm glad. But let them drop some more points now. Let Brighton beat them, and then they could beat City United. I will take that. Right? But of course, guys, do not forget to click that save button. Vital. That's the most important piece of advice I could give anyone. Do not forget, click that save button. We have some great points from Rachel, Johnny, and Caps, especially with the captaincy. I think if you're not going to use your transfer, try to pick the best captain. And of course, a bit of luck, a bit of gut, and hopefully your captain comes through. But do not forget to click that save button. You might have put it on Madison, but you had it on Cash from the week before. And then, so please make sure that your captain and you check your goalkeepers as well. Look for the right defenders. There are a few good differentials out there. I'm still advocating Neto. Neto's looking good. Yes, he's playing Newcastle after, but it's not a bad show. He has been performing against even the best defenders. So
as I say, you could scout him this week. Like you had to use this week as the most important scouting week because 10, the game gonna get crazy. This week is the most important scouting.
10, 11, 12 is pace, especially with some nice fixtures for some of the mid-table teams. And then, now the problem with the mid-table teams, I'll say before we go, Europe, they don't have the legs for Europe. So they have great fixtures in the EPL, but they could drop points.
Yeah.
Just as easily because the legs not there.
Because
So
Mitova flag, so that's one example.
Well, travel. So right. So travel, international break, bam, back in Premier League, then Europe next week.
Yeah.
So definitely something to pay attention to, especially with the mid-table teams that don't have that squad depth just yet. So keep that in mind. All right, guys. So I want to thank my panel. Thank everyone for coming through. As usual, we wish you all the best. May ours be green. May your goalkeeper keep a clean sheet or save a pen. Hopefully, or nano for certain people. right? May defenders, may your fullbacks get assists, hat trick of assists, cash, right? Clean sheets. Of course, you want your midfielders, assists, penalties, everything. Salah and Madison. That would be great if Madison could do that. And of course, you want Alvarez to score a hat trick against Brighton and a 1 goal for Haaland at least. We right, we'll see you all in the next one. Happy picking. Take care. Wait,
Yeah.
X. Wait, sorry. Whoa. Sorry. We just spoke about him. Johnny, take that away. Take this one away.
Anthony Gordon. How do you guys feel about Anthony Gordon? So we spoke about him a little bit before, and he's one of those players that, like, you know, when he's up and about and he's exciting, he's quick. He's got a lot of pace about him, doesn't he, Jared? He's like, you know, you saw what he did against what he was able to do against Liverpool. You saw, like, you know, he's exciting player. He really is. Is he worth bringing him to the side? I don't think so this week. I don't think it's worth bringing him to the side.
No.
That's just my opinion, though. I didn't hear what Cap had to say, though. So, Cap, I don't know how you feel about Anthony Gordon.
I owned Anthony Gordon previously when he was doing bits in Everton. But he kind of frustrating to own. He always pick up a yellow card. He always out and about. But the end product is what disappoints me. But also there's so much midfielders in the game that Gordon is not even a thought on my radar. Because there's just too much midfielders. And when you have Salah already and you have one of the Arsenal boys and a son, like, you can't really do anything else there in the midfield. Anthony Gordon can't fit in there nowhere. So in a game like last year, he'd be more valuable when we hardly had midfield options compared to this year.
Yeah.
But if you need the funds, he's the player that you would use to get funds for the bigger players, because I think he's like 5.6 or something. So go with the gut. If you find that he's looking past your eye test, I mean, he's taking along. But they're more upside with some of the other midfielders. But those who need the budget, he is between him and Neto, practically, for that spot.
Yeah.
So you got to compare with Neto and then
I would argue my option for Newcastle that I went with instead of Anthony Gordon was Bruno Guimaraes. So Bruno G. I love him. I think he's a great player, and I think that with the absence they have in that midfield with some of the injuries, Tonali with his issues and, you know, whatever. I think Bruno he relishes responsibility. He is the kind of guy when the responsibility gets put on his shoulders, and he did it all last season for Newcastle. He steps up in a big way, and I really like when he's got the ball at his feet. He's really, really good. Great dribbler, great. He can find a pass. So I think if you're looking at a cheaper option for Newcastle instead of Anthony Gordon, I'd probably switch your sights to Bruno. Have a look at him. And as we said, this week's a bit of a scouting week, so it's worth paying attention to the Newcastle game this week to see some of these guys in action.
Yeah. All right, so I hope that answers your question, King. Thanks for coming through. Thanks for in the comment section, keeping us company. All right, guys. So we hope you all have a great game week. The action is back, and of course, Champions League back as well. So we'll have a Champions League show next week as well. If you all are on the cricket league as well, hope that going well too. Crazy hours, so we got 4:30. We had to be picking the team caps. So real pressure.
My team is picked like 4 hours before and not knowing who would play the game. I just picked them and leave them.
Yeah, that messed me up too. Yeah. All right. So again, I want to thank Johnny, Caps, and Rach for your company. Thanks for coming through, guys. We'll see you all in the next one. Happy picking. Take care.
Bye.
Yeah, good.